Okay, so today we're going to take a look at my GE Profile washing machine. We're going to replace the agitator coupling in the pump. When the agitator stops working, there's probably a good chance this coupling is worn out, or it could be the actual agitator is worn out as well. Hopefully it's not the transmission. The other thing I've had happen to this washer is that it won't drain out anymore, and I've had to replace the pump. So we're going to take a look at both of those for this video. So please like and subscribe, and let's get started.
The washer is unplugged before you do any of this. Here it's just kind of spinning. So what I'm going to do is grab onto it down here. Just pull up hard. Once you pull up hard, you can get to the next piece. It's all held on by these little clips here.
I've had these lines up there strip out too, and had to replace that.
Once you get that off, you can take that screw off. Now, if you'll notice, this one's just spinning. Right? It shouldn't just spin like that. And that's why it's not agitating anymore. Because once you get the clothes in there, when that spins, nothing's going to happen. So I'm going to go ahead, undo this bolt here, and take this off.
Alright, so I've already loosened it up with the wrench.
There's probably a pretty good chance this one is rusted on. This one, we actually just replaced this. So we'll have to replace this. Alright, so the new cap has come in. I'm calling it a cap. That's what, for lack of a better term.
Better term would probably be coupling.
So the new one will slide down over. See, that one won't move. The other one would. And I got to tell you, this didn't last. I mean, the other one that I got didn't last very long. This is the second time I've replaced this. I mean, I bought it off of Amazon, but this isn't the best quality part. This is not an OEM part. It's an aftermarket part. So
The new one I got did say it was upgraded, so we'll have to see if it lasts any longer than the last one I bought. So again, I bought it off of Amazon.
So I will go ahead and put the new one on. And again, the new one won't turn. The new one does come with a new screw as well. There is a rubber washer. This is the old one here, but there's a rubber washer around there. So I'm just going to tighten that on with a crescent wrench.
Or stripper wrench, as I like to call them.
And then again, the bottom of this, again, it just snaps on. I have replaced this whole thing as well too at one point, a few years back. And this is just gonna get it in the right spot. Right now I know this is that way, and if you notice, these screws line up with these, which line up with the fins on the outside. So you can look down while you're putting it on there. You can say, okay, this one's got it there, so I can kind of line up the fin with that, and then that should be pretty close when I go to put that on. There we go. Done. Okay, so you've been running your washer and all of a sudden it just doesn't seem to drain anymore. It'll agitate, it'll, work its way through its motions, but it never really seems to ever drain the water out. So your pump's probably gone bad. So we're gonna have to get down there, we're gonna have to replace the pump. But in the meantime, you got a problem, right? You got a washing machine that's full of water, and if you get down there and take off that pump, all that water is going to drain down and overflow everything, right? So you got to get that pump or that water out of there, and the answer is pretty simple. The way these washing machines work, right? You have a big tub, and in that big tub there's a hose that comes off and it goes down to the pump, and then from that pump it goes to the water, or to the hose on the back of the washer, and then up through this thing. Well, the reason you have to have this, right, this water hose, so the reason this hose comes up to the top is because the water can flow through that pump. There's no shutoff valve that keeps the water from coming out. What keeps the water from coming out is this hose being higher than the level of the water inside the tub. So if you lay this down, if you lay this down, right, that water's going to come right out of there.
If you have a floor drain, this is going to be much easier. If you're like me, you'll have to empty this pan about 30 times. Now, getting this hose all the way down low as possible is the key to getting as much out as possible.
There we go, see that? Get that as low as you can.
Keep that whole hose as low as possible, because whatever you don't get out is going to come out the minute you take off that hose off that pump. So getting as much out as possible now is the best way to go.
I think we got out all we can get out. Alright. I'm going to use a butter knife. That's my favorite tool when it comes to this. First you want to make sure the washer is unplugged before you do any of this. Make sure it's unplugged. Look for that edge. See? Stick that in there. That'll all right, so we tried to get the hose down here below this level here, but as you can see, the water runs down from the tub down through this hose in the front and then back up through the pump. There is no valve that shuts off that water, which is why we can allow the water to drain. But there is going to be a little bit of water, between there and there that we couldn't get out. So I am going to shove a towel underneath there to catch that water as we take that out. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do, red on the left, black on the right. Not sure if that's...
Always a good idea to mark your leads so you know which wire goes back on. It might not even matter in this case, but just a good habit to get into.
Tucking those wires up out of my way. Next thing I'm going to do is the pump sits on a spring. So I'm going to take the bolts out of the spring so I can kind of lift it up a little bit. Once I get that loose, I can lift this up. And I've got it's actually an old bath mat I'm going to throw up underneath it just to catch any water. I'm doing that with a pair of pliers. I'm just going to take that, squeeze it. Now I can pull that off. Now, let's see where the back one. Okay, the back one's on the back left over here on this side. So I'm going to move that pump all the way over. Do the same thing with this. Squeeze it. There you go. There's a little bit of water that we still had left in there. As you can see, we got most of it out. But as you can see, if you look through there, all right, so you can see my finger. There's nothing stopping that water from running out other than the hose being up high. So now to put it back in, we just do the opposite, right? The hard part's going to be getting the black hose back on. So grab it with a pair of pliers, squeeze it like that. That opens it up, and then let it go. The trick is making sure you got both of them, and you do it evenly. Put it back as far as you can on that hose. Get the hose pushed on. And once you're sure you're on, then pop the other one on. Again, get the hose on as far as you can. Spring back on. Bolts for the spring back on, I guess. 2 bolts right at the front. I would normally use a socket wrench for this, but use what I got. Wires back on. Make sure they don't catch in the door when you put the door back on. Wasn't quite on far enough, so I pushed it a little further. All right, so I put some water in the tub. I'm just gonna come down here. I'm gonna feel around, just make sure nothing's leaking. And everything feels good. No drips or drips. Droops or drips. All right, so I'll go ahead and put the cover back on. All right, so go ahead and put the cover back on. And just line up those plastic pins. Get them lined up. Do a little side-to-side play.
Alright, so that's going to do it for this episode of the Jerry Rigger channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.